This is FishEZ, and thank you for joining us on this Sunday evening. We're going to take a quick look today at some quarantine procedures. We're looking right now at one of the tanks that has some fish that technically are under quarantine. This is mascara barbs, the second batch that we received, and we were able to pretty much capture it from an aquarium shop here locally in Brampton. Take a quick look. I don't know if you can see, but these are very good size Dawkinsia fish. The genus is Dawkinsia and the species is, for the mascara, either Asamilis or Apsara. Really, time is going to prove which species it is, but the Apsara apparently is something that is known in the past by many as the red form. I'm looking at these fish, and I've had them for a good number of weeks now, and they're good size. However, I'm looking at them and I'm seeing no display of color yet. In other words, they're looking good, they're acting well, but honestly, if I were to guess, I would say they're all females. Now, that's not a surprise. The things that happen in the world, the fish world, are pretty, I want to say sad. It's a little sad that people do this, but what I'm looking at is sometimes the case where people have taken all the males out because they may have already started manifesting themselves. They should have by this size. And now I see that they're not, none of them are coloring up yet, and they've been with themselves for a while. They're very settled down into this tank. It very well could be that this is a group of females, because if somebody wanted all the males and then just sold the females, that could have been what happened. But we'll see. I'm not alarmed about the issue because I have males. Let's take a look at the tank raised. And these are down below. These are the tank raised ones. These were from Dan's Fish, and they were small. Much too small to be able to sex. In fact, right now, I can't tell you if they're male or female. But they're growing. They're definitely growing. And in this group, there may be males and females. Definitely, so I will have some males coming. Question is what they will look like when they get adults. That will be the big question. The Dawkinsia genus I saw in some fish shops this weekend. I saw some beautiful black spot barbs or filamentosa. I was so tempted, you know, it's so nice to see those kind of fish. I do want to get some of the ones just like Chris Stubbs has in his channel, Stubbs Aquatics. He's got some beautiful Dawkinsia genus fish. More colorful than these, of course, but that's only because these aren't colored up yet. But he's got some that are really colored up nice. But they're, I think what do you call them? His name escapes me right now. It'll pop in. Welcome everyone to FishEZ for a quick Sunday night connection to everyone. Red Laser is in the house. Aqua Addicted. Robert Lucas, thank you for joining first thing. And Sandy Diamond, glad you could be with us. We won't stay long. I just want to cover some points about quarantining. These were quarantined and they've done very well. These fish quarantined, and once they're put in this tank, no fish comes out until they pass the test. And we've had these for a few months and not a single problem with any of them. None have died. They all shipped great. They're just looking really fine. and really doing well. By the way, in one of my videos, I was talking about this heater. If you remember way back, we were talking about one of the things I don't like about this Hydra heater is the white, bright white lettering. And I got this idea from one of you listeners or watchers, I guess, and one of you subscribers. His name is um, Roman. Thank you, Roman. Really appreciate the suggestion. He said, "Why don't you just take some black Sharpie marker and, you know, maybe a permanent marker, and then just kind of black it out?" I don't know. Guess if we can ensure that the marker is non-toxic, it would work well. I love the way these guys just shoal together when they're a little nervous or when there's something. They just love to swim in a group, and that's what really makes them look nice. So as you can see, these are much bigger, but there's not a single one showing any signs of male coloration. Now, in this particular case, I have one single ram. The reason for the single ram is because, well, in this case, that ram was an extra fish, and I just left her in here when I put the fish in for quarantine. Now, by so doing, what you're actually enabling is a canary in the coal mine. We can watch this fish and see, especially a ram, a little more sensitive. If they were carrying a disease or something, that fish would be affected. Same thing here. There is a fish also in this tank. It's a blind fish, by the way. And it's another Dawkinsia fish, but also known as Denisoni. This one is a gold morph, but it's blind. It has red eyes. It had red eyes, but as it grew, they pretty much lost it. Okay, another idea is to scrape them off. Thank you for your great idea. I'll have to, when I take it out of water, I have to see if that's possible, sanding it off. Even the non-toxic markers. The other thing is, yeah, a little, maybe it's just plastic. Maybe it can be, yeah, with an abrasive, and it won't make it bad. I don't know. We'll see. There's a couple things to try. I don't know when I will try it. I would have to take the heater out of the tank. There's a lot of maintenance to do on this tank and the tank above in the days to come. So we'll see about that. So we've been talking about, basically we're talking about, let me just change here. We're talking about different specific ways of quarantining or procedures that you should do, and I want to add that particular aspect of quarantine. Not just do you have an extra fish in the tank, but this is very similar in idea or principle to what we often do with discus. If you have a group of discus, you don't want to just bring them into your fish room and pop them into your tanks or mix them with your own discus. What you can do is you can bring them to your facility, put them in their own tank, and then when you're ready, you take one of your discus and you take that discus and you put it in with the ones that are new. This way, you're not affecting all your fish room, but you're giving an opportunity to see how any carrying diseases that might be with that particular discus that you brought in could affect individual discus that you have in your facility. In other words, how do they mix, and are they carrying anything that could be given to your own fish? So you take a test fish and you put it in with them and you let them go for a while, and you, of course you're lasting a few months. With these Dawkinsia fish, the mascara barbs, they've been in quarantine for some time, and because of their growth and because of their non-issues, the older ones actually did have ick. They brought in ick. The moment I got them, within 24 hours, they were covered, and I lost one. that was a little sad. I probably could have immediately tried to, when I brought them home from the store, I probably should have put in some ick medicine, but they probably had maybe ick when I got them and I didn't notice close enough. Maybe there was just one. The one that was really bad was probably already showing it. However, I did treat them immediately. I raised the temperature, and that's also important. So up the temperature went in the tank to about 86, and it was held there for some time before now it's dropped down to back down to 80. But I was able to get rid of the problem, and all the fish recovered except for that one. Well, ick is very common when you bring in fish. It's very common to have that, stress-related individual problem. So what we're going to do is think in terms of what other procedures are helpful, and I do use a product and a couple things I'm doing right now, and I'm going to just demonstrate. So last Friday, I was delivering fish with Acclimation, and we were going to various stores. We came across a couple fish that we wanted to pick up at a particular store that we had some credit with, so we wanted to be able to get them and use up the credit, because it's not doing any good just sitting in a pocket, right? Hi Sandy and Jeff Pelhams, thank you very much. I even saw you, Jeff Kane. Thank you for joining tonight. So the other things that I do, well, first of all, let me show you exactly what we picked up. And you'll notice that I quarantined them in these tanks because they were up and ready. These tanks have been used for some time, and they've been running empty while I was away on vacation. But this particular tanks, just so you understand, they have one light that goes all the way across. So the first thing I do is you turn off the light. So the light has a switch, and I was able to easily turn off the light. So fish, when they first get them, they really settle down faster when they're in semi-darkness. There's no sense in bright lights. You're not trying to blast them. You don't want them to feel uncomfortable with that. So that's what we did. We turn off the lights. Whenever I move fish from tank to tank, I often, if I feel that there's for example, if fish come from this particular fish room to the other fish room, I will often use a product here. This is Melifix, and Melifix is tea tree oil. It's a natural product, and it says for the care and maintenance of ornamental fish, fins and tissue in aquariums and ponds. So it's a natural product, but immediately you'll notice what it does is it coats it tries to help them, any scrapes or any little marks that they may get. Just netting a fish is obviously removing some of the coat that it has on its scales, some of the fishy feel that you get when you touch a fish. That's what happens. So this particular product is a very safe and natural way to do it, and it's relatively cheap. It can be had in Canada, anywhere. It's made by API. There's also a similar product called Pimafix, and it's very similar, made from similar things, but the other one is a little more antibacterial for situations. But just moving fish around, I use the Melifix, and it's really good for them because I put it in the water, and you'll see a little bubbling, and you can even smell it. When you smell this stuff, it smells just like tea tree oil, the kind of shampoo that you might use with tea tree oil in it. But I've never had an issue using it, and I think that it does a very good job with stress-related issues of moving fish. So thank you very much for your kind words, and I would say this. This is probably done initially whenever you move fish or when you move them back and forth. So that's why I like this. Now, on the other hand, what are some of the other things that you have to deal with in a quarantine process? Well, you don't know what's inside them, so deworming is important. And there's actually a good product for outside when the fish are in need of, maybe they have outside on their skin issues with parasites, or parasites or worms inside the body. Now, my tool of choice, of course, is levamisole. Levamisole, let me see, comes in various forms. So the fish that we picked up, I gave on the second day. First day you bring them home, they're not really going to eat, so I didn't do much there. So then the next day I put a little bit of food in there, and I crushed up flakes. Now, why flakes? Because levamisole is a like sheep dip. You can get that stuff, and if you're in the States, it's very easy to get. You can order it through eBay or whatever, and it comes in 52-gram packets, but you only need a tiny 1/16 of a teaspoon for like a 10-gallon. It's so little. If I know they have worms, if the fish, I might have a higher concentration, I might dose them at what we call a kill rate. It not only causes worms to come out, but it causes the worms to die. You have to repeat the process 10 days later, and then that way any eggs that hatch and the babies that start to grow, baby worms, will start to get infected into the bodies of the fish. They will get it before they can get mature enough. And so the best way to do it is actually 3 times. So it's once for the adults, twice for the progeny, and 3 to make sure everything got killed. So there's like 3. You would do it sometime later. So the process actually is day 1, then you wait 3 days and try the second, but then you might want to do it again sometime later. Now, what I would say is the levamisole comes in a powder, and you can mix it and put it in the water, and that works. But there's even a better way to get it inside the intestines of the fish. You can get levamisole in the form of blue flakes. Now, this is, of course, a bottle that's not what it says. I have it written down here, blue flakes. So let me show you what that looks like. Looks like greenish blue flakes. That's not green blue algae. What that is a flake, and the fish do eat it. They love this stuff. But it is laced with levamisole. So when it goes into their gut, the levamisole is going to be eaten by the worms are going to eat the food from the fish, because that's how they work. They're eating the fish food, and all the fish gets is little of nothing left. That's why they pretty much starve to death. Fish that are infested with worms get they're starving to death because the worms are eating all the food. But the blue flakes enables that, make sure the worms are eating the levamisole, so it kills them right away. Now, there is a good way to do that, and you can crush up the flakes, and I fed it to all these fish to make sure it's on the inside. The next thing you would want to do is you want to remember, I didn't talk about the external, and that would be praziquantel. Praziquantel is also known by PraziPro. This is one by Health Aid. Let's see, who makes this? Aquarium Solutions. Okay, well, this is the one you see often at the store. So, praziquantel. This is in particular a very safe product to use. It's sort of like an oily kind of. You put it in by the teaspoon or quarter teaspoon, depending on your volume of water. This stuff works for the external parasites that might be on the fish. So this is also a safe thing to use. Those are the 3 steps that I use. I do not go straight to antibiotics unless there's a need for it. And there really isn't a need for it to go straight to antibiotics. unless by chance you know for sure there's some problem, right? Watch for fungus, watch for any kind of, watch out for any kind of fungus and so forth. There's also, you just have to really watch it closely. That's the part of quarantining. You're watching closely your fish to make sure they're healthy and to make sure that they are actually going to survive the steps of transfer. Now, when you get them into the fish room, these ones up here are going to just stay there for a little while. And they're sort of a fun fish, so I would like to just introduce you to what we picked up. These are like the new fish, okay? Here they are. The first was, we have a barb up in this one. This tank, though, is giving me some trouble with clarity. It's got some, there was a pleco in there, and so the clarity meaning it kind of looks cloudy. It's not the fish, it's just that particular tank. I might just even move the fish over to the empty tank number 2. But the third tank has rams, cichlid, and these were purchased because we wanted to augment our electric blue population because we're getting reestablished. We had an accident and lost a whole batch, all of our breeders. They were in one tank, and that's a big no-no. Now, you would think that I would know better by that. You know, no, don't ever put all your eggs in one basket, right? Don't put your eggs in one basket. And so, sure enough, what we did was we put all of our eggs in one basket. All of a sudden, the tank crashed. And maybe we had too many fish. I don't remember the actual circumstances. But whatever it was, they got something and killed them all off. We looked around and I said, that was our only electric blue rams after we sold hundreds and hundreds of them? Oh, the stupidity, right? My stupidity. But I learned a lesson, and that's why every time there's circumstances, like we had a batch of young fish the other day, and I told Malik, what you do when you get that young batch is split them up. So take some and put them in a breeder box, take some, leave them with the parents, take some, put them with some foster parents, just split them up into like thirds. So if anything should happen, if you're really desperate to keep that particular group of young fry, then you need to hedge your bet. You need to do something to make sure that it all goes smooth, and that's the reason. So let's think about how putting them all together was a mistake. Now what we're doing is we're rebuilding our breeders. So I picked up some more breeders. We have some, and this would be nice because they're going to be conditioned up, and the way I condition them is with live worms and baby brine shrimp and some really top quality food such as Dr. Basilier food. This is all going to be put into these fish. Right now they might be spread out. I have a little too many in this one small tank. You might consider that as your eggs in one basket, but not really, because they're only there temporarily anyway, and they're in there for the process of using the medications that I want to make sure are deworming and make sure. And so that's the other thing. You would never put them in a large tank and then try to medicate them, because you're just using lots of medication, which isn't cheap, and the medication needs, this way I can control the amount of medication they use or get, and then once I'm finished with the medications, then I can start thinking about putting them in something bigger. And then the last one is a tetra. I went ahead and got a tetra, and it's going to be a little breeding project because we're going to see how we can breed some tetras. This is an easy one to breed, but it's also a tetra that I haven't seen in any of the shops or stores for a long time. Now, I used to see them all the time, but this has been a while. So I'm sure you've seen them. They're a common tetra, and there's many names for them. So I'm going to tell you what the Canadian name is, and then, the more common name. So let's take a look and see if you can take a quick look at these. All right. You tell me what they are. Okay, so here we go up to the tanks. The first barb we have is over here. If you can, they're kind of skittish. They are a long fin barb, and there's a few males, but mostly females. And they're young, they're smaller. These fish, even without the light, you can see them pretty good. They're easy to breed. Probably going to require a lot of culling because they are a long fin variety. The males get very intense red, and on the tips of their fins they get this beautiful black. And when they're in full condition, they are outstanding. I have a short video. It's posted somewhere on my channel. I don't know where it is. If anybody knows where it is, great. But I did see drape fin barbs when I was there. They were in the tank next to this one. The drape fins are interesting. The males have the long fin, but the females do not. These have both male and female long fins. These also have a single dot at the base of the tail. I've practically given it away. It's a common fish. It's a common fish, and I know you know what it is. Please do tell. One of the reasons I really didn't want to get the drape fin barbs, although they're kind of popular and often talked about, the drape fins don't produce rapidly. They lay just a few eggs. They're more of a trickle spawner, and that wouldn't be very good for our production. I don't think I could make any money off them. In other words, it'd be a lot of work and very little output. Clueless. Sandy, these are rosy barbs, but they're the long-finned variety. See the males? They're gonna look nice. Thank you, Jeff. I know you know what they were. Long-fin rosies. Yep, precisely. Now, looking at the cichlids we got, these are some beautiful females. It was very interesting. There was a tank full of these nice-looking rams. But I gotta tell you, again, there was another situation where we looked at a tank that had like 50 to 75 fish in it, all nice, about this size, very colored up, super colored up for their size. Look at them. Gorgeous fish, but every one of them was a female. Every one of them. We couldn't see a single male in the whole lot. So again, they had picked out all the males. So just like we were talking at the beginning, very sad that people do that. They say, okay, yeah, we'll send you German blue rams, and then they send nothing but females. Along with it, we got a nice several pairs of electric blues. Electric blues can be tricky. In this particular tank, they're getting a little harassed. Looks like they're getting stressed out because they're starting to, as you can see, pick up. This is a 5.5 gallon, and there's just too many maturing rams in there. So I'm going to have to do something. I'll probably put in some fake plants, just make it real bushy. I'm going to do something, at least while in the quarantine process. I have this tank here. I could probably split them up, put some in here. You ready for the tetras? Here we go. Who can name the tetras? Kind of neat in one group. I've already lost one. One fish was found dead. I got a nice group of them because it's kind of important to get a good number of fish like this when you're trying a breeding project. You don't know, you want to make sure you got males, females, and you want to make sure that you can lose a few. Yes, Peplin Creek Aquatics coming through with the hockey stick. And their other name is called penguins. Thank you, Jeff Pellams. Jeff Kane comes in third
with hello and yeah, penguins. So these fish, also known as hockey sticks, I thought in Canada world they really should be advertised as hockey sticks, but I like I like the black stripe. There's a couple names for them, but they seem to be very healthy. Now, I would never even touch a species of fish if I looked at them and I saw sick fish in the tank. So I try not to change the water too much when you're doing medications. And also, I'm going to try not to change the water too much in transition because these were slowly acclimated, and the shop we had them in liked to use RO water for, like, for example, the rams were in RO water. It makes them look really nice. I don't know all the advantages. They seem to, according to them, when they put them in RO water, they do much better. But yeah, these are nice fish. So feeding sparingly. I did the blue flakes last night, and also beware that the blue flakes or levamisole causes the fish to kind of paralyze their gut. So in other words, their ability to eat, their eating habits thereafter. If I got a fish in that had very sunken bellies, I would make sure they're eating for a few days before I actually did the levamisole, only because I want to see if they're eating and I don't want to paralyze their stomach before that happens. But I usually don't accept fish that have sunken bellies, so that's the reason. I wouldn't want them to be in there, so we'll see how these turn out. So these females, we're going to probably cross into some of the males that we have raised and see how it improves the line. If it doesn't improve the line, by keeping them separated and seeing how they do or do not improve the line, the whole lot can be sold off. You don't have to keep fish just because you breed them. You don't have to breed from fish that you bred, you see. But when you're trying out new things, like additional bloodlines or genes, there's nothing wrong with giving it a try, taking a look at the progeny, and then ascertaining and making a final decision as to whether to go with it or continue with it. So that's what's going on up here, and that is the quarantine process. Another thing to note is the temperature. When you're quarantining, it is kind of probably a good idea to increase the temperature. Another reason is because it keeps the metabolism up and causes anything that is perhaps in the form of a problem that manifests itself. You want it to manifest yourself. You know, you're not trying to, oh no, cross your fingers and hope that. You don't want it to hide itself. You want it to manifest itself when it's in the quarantine tank. That way you can deal with it before the fish are spread to other fish. Also, if they do have a situation where it might be an issue or cause a problem, then the ick also with higher temperatures initially, it might prevent or slow up because higher temperatures tends to inhibit the ick. So I haven't seen, I'm going to take a good look at these fish. We just were looking through the camera, but I'll take with my eye. Sometimes it's better to really look with the eye. I can see very good and close up because I'm nearsighted and the glasses don't help. These are actually arm's length distance glasses. I have others that are bifocal, which not easy, but because they're difficult to see. But I can use these. I take off my glasses, get up real close, and I have good vision, very nearsighted, and that way I can find and spot things that might be of an interest to me, you see. Welcome, Fish Tropic Canada, and we have, it's Kais. Good question. Okay, it's Kais is asking, hello, what age do rams start to pair up?
Actually, you know, it depends on how they're, you know, being raised, but my young ones already at 4 months are starting to pair up. And at 4 months of age, you'll see some of them already jumping at each other and forming pairs in the corners, and they will immediately start to breed. So, Big Tank Hank has joined us. Great, welcome. Yes, I hope you all recognize me. This is FishEZ. Welcome to FishEZ. I know I do look a little different. I've got the professor look now. A little bit different than before. Let's try this out for the winter. And then also I have a beautiful electric blue ram from the last batch. Out of the 2 or 3 that I purchased trying to get some breeders, some of them don't make it out of quarantine. You know, you just have to accept that some will die, and you don't know why they die, but you know, you're glad they died in quarantine rather than, you know, cause an issue. This is one that survived and is looking great. I'm just gonna have to show you this one. He's just doing so well. Let's see if he's not camera shy. Look at that fish. Oh, the glare is there. He's in this tank alone. I'm ready to move him. He's been doing well, but definitely a male. I think on Monday's live stream, I had pointed him out, and I was thinking about putting him with a female black ram, but I don't have that female with me anymore. Could try the one that's up there we were looking at earlier. That might work. Anyways, these tanks, we're going to be doing some, in all these tanks, we're going to be doing some breeding this week. Yes, this week. I did have one female, while I was away, put one female swordtail that I thought was pregnant, put her in this tank with all this mesh, moss, algae, whatever, and no babies. I don't know. I'm not good at live bearers. Maybe I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe I'm just not patient enough. I like it when I put the pairs together, they have eggs, and then 2 days later I have babies. Maybe it's just I'm impatient, you know. And looks like we've got several people joining us. Welcome. Okay, so what else can I show you tonight and talk about quarantining? One of the things, there are several obvious things that I just want to mention to make this this program complete. When you're quarantining, be sure not to mix the water. I mean, it's kind of obvious, but you know, even like for example, if you're going to use the hose to drain the tank, do all the other tanks first and do them last. You always touch your quarantine last. Ideally, your quarantine tanks, if you have them in another room, it would be awesome. And that way, if they are completely separated, you have a less of a chance of contamination issues. That's another really positive thing. Also, if you see like anything on the skin, you can add some salt to the water. That aids in the healing process. We were talking about in the move, scratches. I use the Melafix, but if you want to use salt also in the tank, I think that's a good idea. That's something I could probably add to those tanks just to give them a little boost. Some salt, probably, it's usually a tablespoon per 5 gallons is a very mild treatment. I have even put fish when I needed to. I put in a higher concentration, and amazingly, the fish don't die. They do well in the salt. If it's not permanent, if it's just for a while, it can really be beneficial. Salt could be helpful there. What else? I do have, I was gifted one of the shops with some new plants, and they're not It's not Vallisneria, but it is Vallisneria, but it's not the giant. So I'm trying to reduce the giant from my tank here that I always have to trim back. So what I did was, plants too get quarantined, as it were. Let me show you what I did. Down here, we put them in a jar, and there they are. And I just put in a little bit of a KMN04. That's potassium I'm not saying it right. We call it PP for short, right? Potassium permanganate. We got potassium permanganate. I soak it in a good amount of potassium permanganate, nice dark purple color, for about 1 hour, 1 hour and a half to 2 hours, and then I take the plants out and make sure, with little hydrogen peroxide added back in. What it does is it will make sure the snails and other whatever creatures that might be with the plants don't get brought into your fish room as well. So that's what I did with those. Question, did the black rams get moved to the grow out? Yes, they did. There were black rams up there. They weren't doing as well, but for my vacation, it was appropriate to get them, all those tanks emptied. I wanted to just have minimal amounts so the people or family members who were taking care of the fish could only, worry about, that the mascara barbs are pretty foolproof. They're very hardy fish. Wasn't worried about them. You throw a little food in there every day or every other day, and they'll survive just fine. Excuse me. Sorry if I coughed in your ear. But, it's interesting. One of the things that I was worried about was I brought some live foods over to Malik, and the green water almost died out, but I was able to salvage from a tank and reestablish it, so it's getting green again, so I'm happy about that. I didn't lose my green water. And do you sell your fish to tails and scales? Yes, they have our black rams. I think we sold them black rams here recently. Yeah. And so if you're close to tails and scales, that would be a great place to pick up fish. You don't have to worry about coming all this way. Now, the other thing is the Daphnia. The Daphnia didn't make it. Ironically, it seems like we've got a good number of the Moena Daphnia. The smaller, they seem to have survived. We got some, and I think I lost all the Magna, which is the big, easiest to grow. But I discovered last night, after a week of being back, that there's some Magna, Daphnia magna, and some tanks down below in what looked, there wasn't much in it. So I've been waiting for this green water. I'm going to try to grow them back. So all you need is a few Daphnia, and then I'm just going to build them back up. I need to have those for the summer when we start the tubs again, and we need to have the Magna because it's a wonderful live food, very easy to grow. When you have tubs, large containers outdoors, feeding our breeder fish, Daphnia with mosquito larvae works great. And the lights just went on. Alexa, fish room on. Alexa, overhead lights on. Okay. So, sorry about that. That's how I control the lights. Do you ever fast your young fish? Sandy, that's a good question, although I'm not clear on what you mean by young fish. If you have fry, you definitely don't want to let them go without food. Fry need the food in their stomach all the time, and they won't last, and they will die quickly if they can't find food. That's the biggest problem with the small, when you're breeding fish, the smallest of fry, because they're not finding food. Which reminds me about the paramecia. All the paramecia I took over to Malik died out, and so I was fortunate enough that just before I left, I reset the cultures, and the cultures lasted the 4 weeks. And so when I got back, they were just on the brink of going out, but there was plenty in there left to kickstart or start up a new batch. So I've gotten reset. So I didn't lose the paramecia as well. So those who have had put in orders for those, they're waiting. I know you're waiting, but we're going to make sure that the culture is going strong, and I'll send it out probably a week from tomorrow on Monday. That will be the earliest they'll be ready, because it takes 2 weeks, even 3, for the bottle to get completely concentrated. And your question is about fish that are 4 months old? Well, those are depending on what kind of fish they are, but yeah, 4-month-old is like almost a ram we were just talking about. If they're rams about to maturing 4 months old, then yeah. I don't see a problem if that is easy to do. A weekend, if you're going away for the weekend, you won't need to feed the 4-month-old. They'll have enough reserves on them, and that is how it happens. Welcome, Sunny G. I'm so glad you came, but we're at the end of our live stream tonight, so there's some very good practical things. We're talking about quarantine, and we're talking about some aspects of management on your fish room, your fish tanks. So be sure to watch the replay, and if any of you have or you're on the replay, be sure to leave a comment down below, and I answer all comments on any of my videos and posts. So a couple questions. My Daphnia culture developed detritus worms. It's funny you say that, because so did mine. The one that was in the back there, a lot of detritus worms. And that can happen. It doesn't usually happen with the other. First of all, the detritus worms aren't going to cause much of an issue. And I've done some more research on the Daphnia, and I found out that the food that you give the Daphnia, they are filter feeders. They feed out of the water, but they also need bacteria, so you need the detritus. You need to feed the fish food to Daphnia, or put something in the water that's going to break down, and that's what the Daphnia really do well on. So you're going to find that your Daphnia culture is kind of messy, and that tank's going to be kind of messy. But since you're taking your net and you're fishing out the Daphnia when it goes time to harvest, what's the point of worrying about the detritus worms? Okay, they're in there, they're breaking down the food. You throw some food down in there, they break it down, and then I think it's actually quite helpful for the culture, your container, your tank, or your whatever it is, your tub, or whatever it is you're doing your Daphnia in. If you wanted to, you could try fishing out the Daphnia and put them in another tank, cleaning out, and then put them back in and clean it all out. It's a lot of work, but if you don't mind it looking bad, like it looks maybe bad. I've seen a lot of ponds and things with a lot of algae and other aspects that, you would think, oh, it looks dirty, it looks filthy. Well, dirty and filthy isn't necessarily bad dirty or bad filthy. Remember that fish in the wild have dirt at the bottom of the pond. They have dirt at the bottom of the lake and the river. And so they're gonna, all kinds of microorganisms and detritus worms and everything grow and live in that environment. That's what fish are accustomed to, and they do very well. It's only the bad. There are certain bad ones that could cause issues, but detritus worms that you're speaking of, the kind in our aquariums, are harmless, and as I think somebody mentioned, the fish eat them. Yeah, Jeff says some fish will eat the detritus worms. I think most fish will eat the detritus worms. So, honestly, I think what you're dealing with is, it looks terrible, but I don't think it's really an issue. You just kind of get used to it. So if you are a breeder and you are breeding fish and you want to use the detritus worms, or you have them, any that might get in your tank, or just, they're already living in your tank, really, honestly. So Sonny is right. The Daphnia tanks are usually gross, but they don't smell bad. That's, I guess, what would be a great indicator. If the water smells stagnant, now, no good, right? So what I do is, can you see the green water? Here's an example of how much aeration I put in. I can't quite see it. Now, I'm going to turn on the light for the green water, and you get an idea. Can you see that? How much air I'm pushing? If you can see that, it's just a drip, 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 drip. It's just a little stream of bubble. Now, I do that for a couple of reasons. It's not because the green water needs oxygen. It's more because the green water, or any tank, can stagnate. And what forms on the surface of the water is like a little oily kind of, any oils, natural oils will start to form, and then the oxygen exchange between the water and the air is deprived. So all tanks, I try to give a little bit of oxygen, even the Daphnia tanks, but very minimal, just a little bit, just to break up the surface of the water. A little splatter will get rid of the oil type of clogging activity. It keeps the water from smelling because you're oxygenating it, and that's why. The blackworm culture, the blackworms that we have are doing okay. They need some help, and I'm going to be spending some time soon getting that culture going. I found blackworms when I was in the States in Kanawanga, and I was able to pick up some blackworms, but then I went on vacation, and I'm back, and they survived. So that's one of the cultures that did well. But I wanted, if you know Greg Jones and his site, if anybody remembers, he's got a superb way of breeding blackworms, and he does it for his fish room. I totally recommend his video on how to grow blackworms. However, what I have difficulty with is I don't have the space like he did in my fish room and the layout. If you have what he can do, like the space and the shallow water and the overflow and everything, if you can do what he did, great. I just haven't figured out how I'm going to mimic or imitate what he's doing. But there may be another method. Regardless, that's the issue with blackworms. So I haven't come up with a totally perfect way of doing it. So let me see. Yes, Jeff Pelhams is echoing my words here. Greg Jones, he's the one. Yeah, got a great video. I think there's others that are out there too. But until I get my culture going, and then I'll have maybe one day to share how I'm doing it, but I have to be successful with that. The other worms, the grindle worms that I have are doing great, and so they've done awesome on the vacation. So I came back and I was able to get them going. They bounce back very quickly, very easily, and that's it. So that's tonight's feature. I'm so happy you could join me for this hour. And just to touch bases with quarantining and some of the subjects about quarantining is, and if there's any questions you have, there are probably a lot of little details about quarantining fish that I failed to mention, and it's just because I didn't prepare it and outline. I'm just sharing what I'm doing with the quarantine fish that I have now, and that makes it easy for me because I didn't have to sit down and come up with any new ideas. It's just this is what naturally I do to make sure that the fish are in top, superb health. After all, you've gone to all this trouble, you've gone to all this work to make a beautiful, beautiful tank, and you've got these fish, and if you don't quarantine them, you can lose and risk everything. And I will say this, okay? We went to, I think, 5 LFS, local fish stores, last Friday. And we went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we went to each one. Now there's one in particular that we encountered, and the gentleman has been in the fish business forever, and he just sells fish. He sells lots of fish to his locals, and there was a tank that was full of ick. And I asked, well, these fish are, definitely, most of them, there was some dead fish, many of them were covered. I says, just pointed it out, but, who am I to say anything about what to do? And I asked Malik, I said, do you think he's going to treat those fish? And he said, no, he's not, he's just going to sell them. And it's a sad reality that's the way it is, because medications cost too much, or it's too much work to bother with a couple tanks that are sick. When you're dealing with processing fish constantly, it's very sad. I know. I'm sorry to have to even mention it, but it's warning for you. If you're out looking at fish, be sure to examine them closely. Watch them carefully. Look for little white dots. Look for that ick. Look for fungus. Look for any type of fin damage. Look for things that indicate whether the fish are sick. Because just because it's in a local fish shop doesn't mean, or local fish store, doesn't mean that they're well cared for. And I'm sure that most of you would agree with that. Very sorry about it, but it was, and it is what it is. I walked away very sad. I wished I would immediately want to try to save the fish, or at least get rid of the ick. I mean, it's so easy to do with the right medications, but I know that, it wasn't my place or business to say. But it's my business and place to say here on this forum, so that you get some good data, you get some proper information, because this is FishEZ 411. Information for your fish tanks, your fish breeding, or your fish keeping. So thank you very much for this last hour of being able to associate, and see you all again. I'm looking forward to it. I will be doing a lot more in the future of getting ahead, in other words, posting a notice, letting you know. I haven't been advertising when it's time. I just have been grabbing the camera and going at it. And I'm sad about that, because there is probably a lot more preparation that I can do for you, and I will do that in the future, because I want the channel to grow. The best thing for all of you to do, though, is, of course, if you like this content, if you like to share it with someone, share it with a friend. If you meet somebody and you promote it and say, hey, you should check out this channel, that would be awesome, because the word of mouth, or shall we say, the personal recommendation by someone who has experienced it is, of course, the best recommendation that one can give. So thank you so much, and all of you who are members too. We'll be picking that up again and doing more members videos, and I do have a video that is in the works. It will be published soon, and the members will get first shot at that, because they'll get to see it first. And We'll see when that comes out, but it's going to be on the subject of, well, wait and see, but it will be a barb. And it won't be the mascara barbs, just FYI. Thank you so much. Looking forward to having you all next week. And I'm looking forward also to answering your questions and getting with you on that as well. So have a good night and be safe. And most of all, whatever you do, keep it real.